Oh, just because I saw so much hatred in the city and in the country. I've been in spaces with some Muslim people. I always want them to know that I'm sorry for how collectively you've been treated. I had a lot of guilt. I had a lot of shame that we were in wars and I never spoke up against the wars. I mean, that always weighed on me because ever since September 11th, we've been in war.
Welcome to another episode of our podcast. I am your friend, Wafa Umran, and this is Go Beyond. I remember when I met you in LA, that was a moment that I will never forget. When you came to me and you just hugged me and you said, out of nowhere, by the way, I want my listeners to know, I am sorry about what happened to you in 9/11. That moment touched me deeply. And by the way, Annabel, this was the first time in my life, 35 years in the US, that somebody said something kind about that to me, or acknowledged our pain, or acknowledged how unfairly we were treated. I felt a connection with you that it will always be there, and I cherish that moment for forever. But also I wondered, what compelled you? What compelled you to share my pain, to acknowledge my pain? Why is that important to you that you needed to say that to me?
Oh, just because I saw so much hatred in the city and in the country. I mean, I feel other people's pain. That's one thing. I'm a sensitive soul. This just is how we show our love. And I mean, that's why I've done so much anti-racism training, teaching people about bias, and even a lot of decolonial work in the Latino community. But I mean, I remember this car that said death to all the Muslims, and I was so upset. And I didn't have a lot of money. I wasn't working. And I told my nephew, go ahead, I'll meet you at the apartment. And I remember taking my pizza and just smearing it off so the hatred message could not be driven around the Bronx. And I just said it because even afterwards, how people mistreat all of you and also don't understand your culture or your faith. It's the same way, I get the same way when, I have African American friends or, Asian friends, because there's Asian hate. And I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's like we're human. We're all having a human experience. And nothing that we are, everything here is good. Everything we have on earth, God made. There's no mistakes. There's no mistakes. And we're all equal, but we're not the same. And so I was just compelled because we never know. I didn't know how you're going to react to that, honestly. I was just like, but you had this energy and I was like, I need to tell her.
Thank you.
Because also like for me as a September 11th survivor, I'm like, if I always hope, if I almost lost my life that day, and if I love all people, and even the people who people say that are my enemies, right? If I can show them love, then if you are outside of the building, you most certainly should show love and respect.
That's beautiful.
That's the least you can do. You weren't in the building. You didn't almost lose your life. So I'm not asking that anyone to do anything more than what I would do.
One day after September 11, I took my two kids to the laundromat, and I was just sitting there minding my own business. Those women who are kind of blocking my way, and I'm like, excuse me, can I just, I want to take. And she's like, what are you doing here? Go back to your country. And my children are watching me. At the time, I couldn't answer her because it was frightening to me to say one word. I was afraid to be beaten up. And I really didn't know what to answer. What to say to that.
Maybe there's a way that we can transform their hearts and minds, because I share this story, and I don't share it lightly. I mean, I was silent for 20 years for a reason. And so there's been this, it's for me, it's personal, right? I feel like, well, how am I helping humanity? I was saved. I feel like I lived, but then it's like, how am I really helping humanity if I'm not speaking out? And so that's why I've dedicated more of my work around bias training and anti-racism training and advocacy. And storytelling, I feel is such a healing practice. Every culture has it. And so even if we all heard each other's stories, I feel that there's some piece in it that everyone can resonate with. And the story itself allows us to be on that journey for a little bit and to just begin to understand that person and what had happened to them. And in that, I feel understanding and acceptance is where it begins. But the storytelling, I think, is a great way for us to meet humanity with humanity.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I feel that. I really got the chills because that hits so close to me. And even through my life and in the last 2 years, especially, like when you said that, I couldn't understand how people can go to the malls and continue with their lives. And when my people are being slaughtered, and starving to death, it's very heavy. And we don't know how to deal with what's going on. And that actually paralyzed me for some time in the beginning of the genocide. But then I had to do some thinking and reflecting and come to the point that, okay, I have a role in this life, as you said, and that's what I need to focus on because I cannot stop what's going on. And I'm going to be a witness to it, but I want to keep doing what I can do to help in. And that's what you have been doing. And that brings me to a question. What do you think any person can do from their own home, their communities, their workplaces? What can they do to learn more and teach more about shared humanity?
Mm-hmm. First of all, I'm really sorry. And just so I'm sending you a big hug. It's yeah.
Thank you.
I was in tears when it's almost going to be 2 years now, when I saw what had happened and how the war was. I mean, there was always an occupation, right? For 70 years, there's been an occupation. So, and then apartheid and no freedom of movement, no investments, no political voice, none of that. So, very aware of that. But then to see this onslaught and then the genocide begin. And for me, the fact that there's organized chaos happening with a lot of money and a lot of power behind it. I always think about it is taking you off your game to distract you, to have you not put your consciousness where you want it. And you can't, when you have to survive, you have to survive, you have to do. But if you have a moment of reprieve and you can keep your consciousness into what you want, that is where you are winning. You can alchemize the trauma and transform it into something.
That's
That is what we are called on. I'd say the first step when you do have trauma or you're experiencing trauma is, you had said something, it was almost like an invitation. And I'll say that even in the worst situations, it's asking, you're almost living out a different reality, and it's requiring you to show up in your life in a very different way, in a new way, and in a way that you would not show up in the world had you not been through that traumatic experience or going through that traumatic experience, right? So that's the first thing, is that it's calling you to a new part of yourself just to survive, just to get through. There is this, doesn't matter your faith, right? But we have the life force within us. So it's almost this unreal question that we all have to ask ourselves is, how are we going to take the suffering we feel right now and turn it into something that is beautiful, that is good, that is love? Because it's almost going to take that much to get us through this moment. But once you do it, then another person does it, then another. And then that's where there's like collective wellness. That's where there's a higher consciousness that can come into this realm. So what can we do now with what we have? I think one of the reasons why I study history so much is because I always like to see the answers, right? Because we're here, we made it, right? Our ancestors did something, they survived, they made it through, and there's lessons in how they lived, and there's a connection there. And so many times those stories can help you see how good we have it, so that you can remain to be resilient, because you realize how good you have it compared to the past. And sometimes it's a situation of how good you have it simply because of your position right in this moment, wherein you know that's not happening right now in another land, even during this time.